Hi, I'm Nate Speare, and I'm here to give you an astrological forecast for the week. We can expect all different kinds of energy and energy of new beginnings and resolutions this week, both on a political level and also a personal level. This is, you could say, the election special of our astrology weekly forecasts because I'm going to address the political level first. And basically, this week, what we have going on is a number of different planets ingressing or moving into new signs of the zodiac, finishing off their business in the old signs that they were in. For instance, one of the big ones happening now is Mars, the pioneer, and when the pioneer is blocked, it becomes the warrior, is moving into the sign of Aquarius, the sign of individual expression and freedom and equality. Both freedom and equality and social justice, very important parts of Aquarius. And in addition to Mars, the pioneer and the warrior moving into Aquarius, we've got the asteroid Juno Hera moving into Sagittarius. Now, these configurations are extremely important because on the one hand, we have the pioneer and warrior. On the other, we've got Juno Hera, who presides over marriage, for one thing, but who also protects bonds and contracts that have a sense of integrity. And we could even use like a big kind of word that has a lot of baggage with it. It's appropriate to use a word that has a lot of baggage because this week is going to be full of different kinds of karmic baggage. So the word I would use there is morality. So Juno Hera moving into Sagittarius, Mars moving into Aquarius, what we have is the warrior and the urgent forward mover trying to support our sense of integrity and sacred contracts. That includes on a personal level and also on a social and national level. The first degree of Sagittarius and the first degree of Aquarius are where these two cosmic bodies are going to meet. And the image traditionally, symbolically associated with the first degree of Sagittarius is a woman covered in gold chains. It involves a sense of a lot of karmic baggage, a lot of karmic backlog. So we are dealing with chains that have been created by our past karma, by deeds that we've done in the past, by seeds that sometimes we've unconsciously sown in the past that are bearing fruit right now. And on the other hand, with Mars in the first degree of Aquarius, number one, symbolically it's associated with a two-headed calf. So two heads and something new kind of being born, but we're seeing two sides of the issue and trying to decide between these two sides. And out of these two sides, a third kind of zaps and emerges into appearance so that we can kind of moderate the extremes of our spoiled mindset that occurs between the two sides. Very dangerous is to solidify into a certain kind of dogmatic view. Especially with Hera involved, we can have this kind of drive to protect our moral and sacred contracts that takes a sort of dogmatic or fundamentalist tone to it. On a political level, we can see this affecting the candidates, particularly with Hillary. We see very clearly in the image of Juno Hera, the image of a mother. She's a maternal figure, a mother, and going into Sagittarius, the sign of international relations and politics. Hello, we've got a maternal or a mother becoming a world and global leader. That's this kind of like cosmic image being thrown right in our faces. If she can break herself free of the chains, the karmic chains that are shackling her. And of course, we could say this on a lot of different levels, but there are a couple different details here. One is astrological, which is that in addition to Mars and Juno Hera supporting each other, we've also got Juno Hera being in a tense aspect this week with the moon. So the moon is also maternal. It also involves protecting and preserving this kind of core nurturing bonds that we have. So when we got these two sort of maternal lunar bodies in a tense aspect to each other, we have a lot of perhaps confusion around nurturance happening. And when it squares the moon, when it is in that tense angle, the moon's going to be in Pisces. So the Pisces is associated with transcendence and things not being quite so solid, but actually, like in the Dharma, they say regard everything that happens as a dream. It's the kind of soft and dreamlike quality to existence. So with regards to all this baggage and all these chains that are just wrapping around us, including with Hillary, we could say acceptance is transcendence. That doesn't mean just blindly accept whatever result occurs or what every single moment that happens day to day and the content of it, but it does mean a sense of being able to, it's kind of a riddle. You know, you could also say the only way out of it is through it. We could say learn to dance with the karmic chains that are enveloping our bodies collectively and personally. We could also say, what is the gift in the limitation? What is the gift in all of this baggage? This also goes for, in relationship again to the political candidates, the symbolic or imagistic part of this. What color are the chains that are shackling us? Gold chains. And look at that. Could say Donald Trump's orange hair could be the gold on the chains. That's lacing the limitations with a certain color that we think resembles worth or power, but might in fact not be so worthy and powerful as we think, or as we're thinking to ourselves, or as the story that is telling ourselves. What is the gift within our limitations? Number one, to be able to befriend and to accept that part of ourselves that's brought us to a certain karmic place is really necessary in order to open ourselves up to newness and to new circumstances. Because if we don't accept it, if we don't embrace all those aspects of ourselves with a sense of loving kindness, what happens? We just keep on closing down and spoiling and hardening into this kind of congested, again, rigid, fixed, kind of dogmatic way of being. So, breathing in and out, accepting all these parts of ourselves, very important. Another important thing on a personal level, because Juno Hera protects contracts that have integrity and a sense of a kind of moral charge to them, and that have a kind of a sense of wholeness and tradition and history behind them. We could say, first of all, we define integrity as, we can say that it's about telling the truth about who we are, being transparent about who we are, what we want, what we desire, what we stand for. I invite us all to reflect this week on what aspects of ourselves have we not maybe told the truth about recently? Are there feelings that we've been having, or inclinations that we've been having, or values that we hold dear that we've been a little bit shy about being truthful or being transparent about? Those are likely to come to the forefront this week. I also strongly invite you, because next week we're going to have a full moon coming up, and it's going to be in Taurus. I invite you to reflect on, in fact, it's going to be right, like sort of at the tail end of the time frame of this when this video is released, and the week that I'm discussing. I invite you to reflect on what decisions or parts of your life have you been cultivating, kind of in this dynamic of between a sense of light, so a sense of lucid decision making, and the opposite, lack of light, lack of lucidity, a sense of fogginess. What life decisions have you been cultivating? And as time markers for these, in April, because that's when the new moon in Taurus happened. So think about what aspects of my life and of myself was I cultivating back in April. And a little bit, again, another time marker over the summer, like around in July, what was I cultivating and also feeling around that time? Did I feel lucid around those things, or a sort of lack of clarity and muddiness around those things? And think about the new moon in Scorpio a couple of weeks ago. What were you feeling then? What did you feel was cultivating, and what did you feel was happening? And in any of these, I invite you to elaborate in your reflection upon it, and to actually give yourself a pat on the back, whatever you are feeling, even if you think it's no good, nothing's been cultivated. Even if you think that, we can see the full moon as the peak of the lunar energy, so of the growth and of the fluctuation and of the emotional sort of outpouring and intentions and seeds that have been set. How do we see the fruit that those seeds bear and grow into? Whether it's a feel good and kind of pleasurable nature, or whether it's a kind of muddy and even heavy and dense nature, I invite you to give yourself a pat on the back when reflecting on April and also July and also the new moon Scorpio a couple weeks ago, and reflect in that way on what's been cultivated over this time, over the last several months. I also invite you to reflect upon where have you been procrastinating, perhaps? Where do you feel stuck? And stuck out of a sense of protecting yourself, perhaps, in making certain decisions about your integrity. And that's not to say that you have to make a decision and jump to it and really make a decision right now, but how can you let the various dilemmas around certain decisions circulate a little bit more freely in your speech and in your actions, both as you talk to yourself and as you talk to others? And be sure, as you reflect on where you've been procrastinating, because this again involves our integrity, which all the planets that we mentioned are sort of working with this week, both on a personal level and a national one. Exercise telling the raw truth to yourself, uncensored about who you are, even if there's a fear of, oh, if I say that, that has extreme implications for this situation or for that situation, or if I say that, then that person's going to think I'm... No, just practice laying it all out there, spilling it out, not necessarily to your loved ones or to your coworkers, but in your own private space to yourself, either verbally, audibly, or in a journal. And finally, just to give yourselves a pat on the back in general, this has been a very tough time, a very chaotic time, and I think we all deserve a little bit of self-compassion and interpersonal compassion. And to beware and be mindful of spoiling any viewpoint into a set of rigid, dogmatic, fundamentalist principles. That is the big danger this week of the relationship between Hera, Juno Hera, Mars, and the moon, is that we spoil into this kind of hardened, fixated, dogmatic, ideological way of being. And that stops things from flowing, stops us from embracing a new historic moment. So everybody, go out and vote. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and I wish you much success this week.